It's really good to be here. This is a big room, and it's important that I try and see you all, if only for my own benefit, because I remember last year it was such a tonic to be at this event last year, because it was one of the first times. It was certainly it was the largest gathering I had been to last year in literally years, and the energy and the enthusiasm was palpable, and I feel it again today, and I'm in need of it again today. So it's good to be here, and it's good to see your faces, and I'm genuinely sorry that I can't be here for more today, especially considering some of the issues that you're going to be discussing, extremely relevant to a lot of what I'm doing. But there are 3 or 4 officials from Department of Rural and Community Development here today as well, and they'll be reporting back to me on proceedings. I'll be very interested here, and I'll be keeping an eye online as well to some extent. When Deirdre brought the news about the fact she was leaving the wheel, I think a lot of people in the sector kind of went, "Oh gosh, that's big news," because for so many years Deirdre was synonymous with the wheel, and today I want to acknowledge her contribution as well over, I don't know how many years, but a long time, and just to say thank you, Deirdre. And then the thought begins, well, who could replace Deirdre? And in many respects, and I don't know what the recruitment process was like, but Ivan was definitely, I think, the best choice. And I was kind of shocked when I checked with him there just earlier, like, how long have you been in position? He said 1 week. I thought, gosh, it feels like you've been there longer, but obviously you've been Deirdre's right-hand man for a very long time. So look, Ivan, good luck. You're one of the best communicators that I've met in the sector for a very long time, and you use whatever bit of time you have very, very effectively. That's a huge talent, I think. And good luck with it. I've no doubt you're going to do very well. So I think, good luck to you, Ivan. Well done. I'm going to take the opportunity just to update you on a few things that are ongoing for a start. You're all aware the government's 5-year strategy to support the community and voluntary sector is sustainable, inclusive and empowering communities. And just a couple of small things that are important for you to know about that. We did follow through on our commitment to hold the first National Civic Forum in November last year, where we came together similarly as today in a spirit of collaboration. We will have the report of that out very soon, and we're in the process of organising for the second one later this year. I think it's a very important event and milestone that I hope will be an annual one going forward, and it will give us the opportunity to look back, or I suppose stand back and look at the relationship between the community and voluntary sector and the state in a more strategic way. I think last year was very much about finding our feet in this kind of format, and there'll be some interesting findings coming out of the report, but I think we can put that in as a milestone every year where we stop, take stock, and look at the broader relationship between the state and the community voluntary sector. We had a number of commitments under the strategy as well, in terms of specific training needs assessments of the sector, with the LCDCs, voluntary boards and smaller community and voluntary organisations. We hope to have these completed this month, and publication and implementation plans following out of them. But I think one of the most important steps that we got to in terms of rolling out the 5-year strategy in the last year was not just the publication of the values and principles document, but the agreement by government departments to abide by the values and principles in this document in their interactions with the community and voluntary sector. So I remember saying at our launch last year that every opportunity that I would have, I will put this out into people's consciousness, because this is a more radical document than a lot of people realise, and every government department has committed to signing up to the principles in this document when in their engagement with the community and voluntary sector. And I can tell you, if that happened in every department, at every level of government, at every official level, at every political level, we'd have a transformed relationship between the sector and the state. I really urge you to just Google it and have a look and use it and bring it to your interactions and educate people. We're doing it as well in the department. We've written to all departments telling them that at the end of this year we will be looking for evidence of how each government department has brought this to life in their work with the community and voluntary sector as well, and we'll be reporting on a regular basis on that. Sorry, I have scribbles on various bits of paper here on my way, and I wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything. I want to give you a little bit of an update on the Charities Bill. Many of you will be aware that the government published a general scheme, the Charities Bill, in April last year, and my officials are currently working with the Office of the Parliamentary Council to finalise the draft heads for submission to government. The bill represents a key step to allow for the appropriate regulation, particularly financial regulation of the charities sector, and having effective governance and financial systems in place allows our charitable organisations to deliver on their objectives and enhances public confidence. The importance of proportionality has been at the forefront in the preparation of this bill. At the same time, the charities regulator urgently needs an updated legal framework that reflects the lived experience of charity operations on the ground. Trust in the sector is vital to all the work of all the organisations represented here and whose activities are integral to making Ireland an inclusive and thriving place to live. And the proposed amendments in the bill will ultimately contribute to further enhancing this public trust and confidence in the sector. Practically, what it will mean will that for smaller, particularly volunteer-led organisations, there will be less onerous reporting requirements. There will be a larger swathe of organisations that are brought into a space of much clearer transparency as well, and there'll be much, I suppose, more articulated clarity in terms of what trustees' responsibilities are. Overall, I think it's going to be a very positive development for the sector once we get it through. But today, I hope, will be remembered for a very important next step on something that I think is going to be very exciting for the community and voluntary sector in Ireland. It's an area that's not been adequately tapped into. There's huge potential there, and this is the area of philanthropy. Last year and into this year, but last year I started chairing the National Advisory Group on a development of a government policy on philanthropy in Ireland. I have to say it's been a really engaging process, really exciting process, and today I'm glad to say we are launching our draft policy for public consultation. It's up on the website. We want to hear from you. I would encourage everyone here today to spread the message about the consultation process. I'm not going to go into the details of the document, but in its current format and its draft, the objectives are outlined under 5 headings. 1, communication and awareness. There's a lot that can be done in terms of, I suppose, bumping up the community and voluntary sector capacity. If we knew more about philanthropy, if there was more awareness about how philanthropists can engage with the community and voluntary sector, and indeed public perception of philanthropy as well. There's a lot of work to be done there as well in that regard. Data and research, we don't know enough about philanthropy in Ireland. Stimulating and incentivising philanthropy, there's a lot I think that we can do in that regard. Government and sectoral partnership is a very important heading that we're going to be developing. And finally, capacity building as well to, I suppose, help facilitate community and voluntary organisations actually tap into the capacity that's there as well. I think it's already proven in Ireland that philanthropy is really important, not just for the community and voluntary sector, but for society as a whole. I worked in an area for a very long time, which was a developing area in the community and voluntary sector in terms of migrant rights, and it wouldn't have happened and we wouldn't be where we are today with really strong advocates for migrant rights unless we had philanthropy backing it in the first place. And I think this touches on a couple of reasons why philanthropy is going to be key and is going to bring, I think, enhanced vigour and enhanced opportunity and enhanced potential for the sector going forward. And I think one of the key reasons that philanthropy is important is that it can support diversity in the community voluntary sector, but also independence as well. And I've worked in different roles in the community voluntary sector. I've worked on the service provision side and I've worked on the advocacy side. And I'm very aware that the community and voluntary sector needs to be able to speak independently and speak freely and independent of government supports at times as well. And I think philanthropy will play a key role in this regard. It has done already, and I think going forward it will do that too. I've also seen and experienced directly as well that philanthropy supports innovation, it supports fast movement, it supports different ways of doing things as well, and that for me, from day one in terms of getting involved in the community voluntary sector was always about, well, can we do this a different way? And can we propose a better way of doing things as well? And I think philanthropy will further enhance the sector's ability to do that. So I think this step today is an exciting and important one, which I think will help to grow a culture of philanthropy in Ireland as well. And I think it needs to be an Irish philanthropy. It needs to be connected to the way we do business here. It needs to be connected to the way that we reach out to people in need here as well. And it needs to be connected to the way that we do change in Ireland as well. So let's develop our own Irish philanthropy policy as well, not just a philanthropy policy. I want to thank all the members of the National Advisory Group. Some of you are here today who've given hugely of their time, including, by the way, Ivan and Deirdre and the Wheel in general over the last year as well. I've really enjoyed the process. I've learned a lot. It's been exciting. I think we're at a stage now, obviously, where we're putting it out to the public. So I really think philanthropy can bring, I think, an enhanced verb, an enhanced vibrancy, and further into innovation, and ultimately increased positive change across Irish society as well. So please engage with us and give us your thoughts and ideas going forward. Important for me, I think, as well, at events like this, to acknowledge the importance of the sector and to thank you for your work. I don't want to over-egg it either, because I know a lot of people say well done, a lot of people say thank you. But thanks doesn't pay the bills, I know that, in your organisations and in your homes. And I'm acutely aware that there is a recruitment and retention issue across the community and voluntary sector. People in the sector don't get into it for the money. I didn't get into it for the money, and I know you all aren't in it for that. You're in it for the right reasons, and that's the joy of working in the community and voluntary sector, that shared sense of duty, responsibility, and enjoyment of the work as well. And it's important that government acknowledges and rewards your work appropriately, I think. It's been a challenging year, of course, in terms of the cost of living. I would point to the Community and Voluntary Sector Energy Support Scheme under my department, and it's been assisting a lot of organisations with energy bills since last year, and we will have the 5th tranche of that scheme out soon as well. I will just point to 2 important developments on the pay side. In my department, the restructured Community Services Programme has seen significantly increased government contributions towards staffing in CSP organisations. And very importantly, there will be a decision going to government very soon that should see 2,500 supervisors and assistant supervisors of community employment, TUS and rural social schemes get their first pay rise in too many years. More needs to happen in this space, obviously, for other subsectors of the community and voluntary sector, but I just wanted to point to them 2 examples this morning. I do want to just briefly acknowledge some other change processes that are underway in 2 of my departments at the moment. Last year we published a review of the public participation networks in Ireland, and again, these are a group that I want to get, every chance I get, I want to push the work of the PPNs. We've, I think, over 17,000 PPN members nationally, many of which contribute hugely to the development of local policies, but especially developing communities at a very localised level, helping to make them more inclusive and more environmentally sustainable. There is work to do with PPNs to better support them nationally, to communicate better what they do to the wider public, and further support the development of their independence as well. The implementation plan is being collaboratively developed at the moment, and I look forward to an enhanced and stronger role for PPNs across the country going forward. Secondly, I want to just acknowledge something called the Rural Social Scheme, which some of you may have heard of and some of you may not. And we've just started a process of reviewing this. Now, on the face of it, the Rural Social Scheme is an income support scheme, but in reality, it's a social inclusion scheme that gives low-income farmers and fishers the opportunity to contribute to their local community. And it's also a crucial support for many rural-based community and voluntary organisations. We want to refresh this scheme to make sure it's structured in a way that it helps small farmers and fishers stay in their primary activity and perhaps contribute in a wider variety of ways to their communities and environments. We have an open survey out at the moment on that, so any of you who are in that space, we really would welcome your input. There's been 1,000 responses to date, so it's a very important scheme, clearly from the level of input we're getting from people in rural communities. I do want to say a little bit about my new functions that I took on in the Department of Children, Equality, Disability, Integration and Youth 5 months ago now. It seems longer than 5 months, I can tell you that. And again, Vincent has done so already, but I do want to very clearly acknowledge, particularly over the past year, the role that communities have played across Ireland in demonstrating great solidarity and welcome for those who come here to seek refuge. Many of your organisations, staff and volunteers are working tirelessly with us in local and national government to provide the best welcome and support to the people seeking protection, and indeed countering false narratives that don't represent the welcome that Ireland has to offer. I've been consistently and persistently highlighting the role and indeed the potential of the community and voluntary sector has to help with the integration of youth communities at a local level. And I'm confident now going forward that the potential will be further recognised and will be further supported. We have much to build on, I think, in that regard. Social inclusion, community activation programme and our volunteer centres that are funded and we've additionally funded under DRCD are doing excellent work in that regard. The Community Integration Fund from the Department of Children is supporting over 100 projects across the country, and there will be more substantial supports coming for integration later this year as well. Important to point to as well, I think the Community Recognition Fund, €50 million fund that we launched, we announced the grantees of last week. An important development as well that will be coming more to light, local authorities will be getting the green light soon to recruit local integration teams as well. So every local authority will have between 2 and 4 integration officers, and we hope to see them all in place before the end of the year. And I suppose over the last couple of months and weeks, the negative stories about the Irish reaction to new arrivals have, I suppose, unsurprisingly, got a lot of attention. But the reality is the Irish response does remain dominated by communities reaching out and people being welcome. And it's important that I reiterate that this morning, and I'm not trying to spin it or put a bright side on it. That is the reality of the situation. It's important to say that, and it's important to acknowledge it. I see it every week when I travel and when I do meetings. One of the reasons I have to leave early today is I'm going to be meeting groups who have a lot of positivity to offer in this space as well. But to build on this reality and to grow this fact and to give that reality a national platform and attention, I will be hosting a national event in Croke Park actually on 22nd of June next month that will bring together community-based approaches that have been effective in welcoming new people to Ireland, especially over the last year. So it's an opportunity to showcase good examples, an opportunity to network, an opportunity to build solidarity as well. We'll have a bit more public communication on this, but put your thinking caps on. If you know groups locally that you're involved in or are connected with that are showing good example, please let my office know, but you'll see more channels opening up as well. We want to gather you all and build the strength that you have. They don't need to be elaborate, and indeed some of the simplest and smallest ones are the most effective and the most transferable, and we want other communities who haven't seen new arrivals to see how easy it is to actually reach out and connect with people as well. Before I wrap up, I do want to mention the National Action Plan Against Racism. We do have one now. We do have an in-date one now, which I launched in March. I've been putting as much time into this as I can in terms of implementation over the last couple of months. And since its launch, we've also opened the Ireland for All Anti-Racism Fund. So again, I draw your attention to this and encourage you to make proposals. Small grants have been between 5,000 and 10,000, and larger grants between 50 and 100,000. Deadline for that is the 31st of May, so I'd encourage you all to engage with that. That's the majority of what I've got to say. I really wish I could stay longer with you and see more of the engagement and chat to you as well. But I'm really looking forward to the next year and a half. I'm not sure how long we've got in government, but I think there's an urgency in me now, certainly at the moment, that I engage as much as possible with you over the next 18 months to 12 years, because there's a pressing job that needs to be done on a variety of levels in society. And I just want to reiterate, I suppose, my support for the community and voluntary sector as a whole, getting properly rewarded for the work that you do. And you have an advocate in government to push that agenda as well, to let you know. Thank you all very much for your work.